Hey guys, it's James with the Fantasy Football Cockpit here, coming with you for Week 1 matchup with the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. All the fantasy relevant players for the Houston Texans are coming up. Starting with the quarterback position, Davis Mills. The only one on this roster that's of really any importance. A very good QB2 this week. The Colts don't really have that scary of a secondary. Darius Leonard is not playing. Hopefully that takes a little bit off the pass rush. I do think he scores better than his projected 16 fantasy points. Maybe that's where he gets in 4-point passing leagues. But honestly, in 6-point passing leagues, he should get to around 18 points, and maybe he does better. Who knows? This game could really get away from them, make it a shootout. He could be an interesting flyer for Superflex leagues this week. Going over to the running backs, Damien Pierce. He's one of the main and only running backs you should be starting. A very capable RB2, someone that can maybe get to the RB10 because Darius Leonard is out. That is a tackling powerhouse for the Colts. No longer in the roster, going to create opportunities. Damien Pierce is the guy you want. Rex Burkhead, I'm not a big fan of him this week. Maybe someone you put into a PPR flex position or like a desperate RB2 play if you're really stacked the wide receiver from a 0 RB strategy. Last year, he only really averaged like 40 yards a game, opposite of David Johnson, and that's when they were supposed to be sharing carries. He's not going to be sharing carries. He's mostly a passing down back. Even in games last year, he was at best giving you 7 fantasy points from his PPR value. Not really someone I'm looking to get. He wasn't receiving touchdowns last year. There's enough other targets for that. Moving on to the wide receivers, we got a couple good ones. Brandon Cooks, Mr. Reliable, always getting it done. He's going to be a guy that I think he's getting way too low looked on. 12 fantasy points, just under 13 is a joke. He's going to get you 18 easy. A guy that can break 20. He's going to do the better than Gabe Davis did on Thursday night. If you thought that was great, just watch. Brandon Cooks is a guy that will consistently do that for you. He's so undervalued by the people making these projections. It's ridiculous. Next guy you want to look at, Nico Collins. Nico Collins, rookie wide receiver, big body target in the red zone we saw in the preseason. He's going to be opposite of Brandon Cooks, number 2. The secondary, I don't think is very good for Indianapolis. I do think he's fairly projected around 11 fantasy points, but if he catches like 1 touchdown, honestly, he could be up there getting about 18 fantasy points. He's a nice flyer to have in a flex position, a 3rd wide receiver slot, especially if you maybe neglected that and went with the running back heavy. And there's only really 1 tight end you need. Brevin Jordan. He's the young guy. He was catching a few touchdowns from Davis Mills last year, so he has that repertoire. It's a crowded room, but honestly, I see him only catching maybe a few passes, so if you're tight for a tight end, maybe you take a shot on him, but honestly, he's not my favorite one to be starting. In kicker leagues, Cammy Fairbairn, a very consistent guy. Didn't have it last year, but he was coming off a weird injury at the start of the year, but he really turned it up. He can make those long field goals. He's really consistent with extra points. He's someone that's not going to lose you a week if you need someone at the position. The Texans defense is not a team we're starting this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor's going to shred them. We don't know what Matt Ryan's going to do with Michael Pittman, but we know he can find a receiver and give him a whole lot of love. Whether it be catching touchdowns or not, he's going to put up points. Maybe not the week, especially with a good O-line in Indy, to be starting the Texans defense. That's all I got for week 1. Hopefully, after we see what this offense turns into, we'll know what we got for week 2. See ya.